Football isn't something you saw, it's something you discovered. China, the ultimate sporting superpower, 40 Olympic gold medals in 2024. But just weeks later, their men's football team lost 7-0 to Japan. 7-0. Fans on social media joked that the team was consistently disappointing. The other day, a friend of mine from the Balkans looked at me with confusion and asked, wait, China didn't make it to the World Cup? I just laughed. Yeah, no surprise there. We never made it. Wait, I had to correct myself. We did made it once, back in 2002, just once. And this brings us to the ultimate paradox. China has 1.4 billion people and the government obsessed with Olympic glory. Yet, we've only ever made it to one World Cup. So why can't China find 11 men who can play a beautiful game? Is it money, people, or football just unfixable? Why China is an Olympic giant, but a footballing ghost? When people talk about China's football failure, they usually blame three things: population, money, and corruption. First, the population need. People say with 1.4 billion people, they must be able to find 11 players. But football isn't a population game, it's an ecosystem game. India has just as many people and ranked even lower. My friend from the country Croatia has 4 million people, less than half of the population of London, and they've reached World Cup finals. If nobody is playing, population is irrelevant. Then there's money and corruption. In 2017, the Chinese Super League actually outspent the Premier League. $438 million on stock like Oscar and Hawk, a golden era of spending. But it was built on the real estate debt. When Evergrande collapsed, the club went down with it. Jiangsu FC dissolved just months after winning the league. And the corruption is real. Former national coach Li Tie, an ex-Everton player, got 20 years in prison. He paid $400,000 in bribes just to get a job and fix matches for years. But corruption exists everywhere. Other corruption football nations will win. Other corruption games will win. So population, money, corruption, these aren't the disease, they are just symptoms. To find the real cause, we need to look at how China wins Olympic gold. If sports were a video game, most countries would play the main quest, trying to win the biggest, most popular titles like football or basketball. But back in the 1980s, China realized they were late to the party, didn't have much grassroots culture or decades of tradition to compete head up. So they were not only trying to play, they also tried to hack it. Instead of fighting for the world's most crowded trophies, China's sports officials looked for the blind spot. They asked a very Moneyball question: where are the most gold medals for the least amount of competition? China's Olympic success is a masterpiece of sports engineering. It is a master plan so calculated, based on a strategy designed by Professor Tian Maijiu, known as the 5-word principle: 小, 巧, 难, 女, 少, small, skilled, difficult, woman, and few. If you want to win gold medals with maximum efficiency, you don't play what the world plays. You play what the world ignores. Small and skilled, don't waste time on giant team sports. Focus on small ball like table tennis or badminton, or highly technical individual sports like diving and gymnastics. Difficult, pick technical sports you can master through repetition. Winning, this was the master stroke. Decades ago, China realized that Western countries didn't fund women's sports as much as men's. By pouring resources into women weightlifting or volleyball, China found a fast track to win gold with way less competition. And there's few target colder niche sports with fewer participants globally. For example, shooting or rowing. Because here is a beautiful irony: an Olympic gold medal weighs exactly the same, whether if you're reading a stadium or screaming fans in a chaotic 90 minutes football match, or in a quiet room where someone's shooting on a paper target. China simply chose the path with smaller percent of global competition. Efficient, and the numbers back it up. Since 1984, 72% of China's 303 gold medals came from 6 sports: diving, weightlifting, table tennis, gymnastics, shooting, badminton. Well, I wonder if you feel the same. China is usually not considered a very sporty nation, but definitely a very competitive nation. To sustain this incredible level of success, China developed a centralized state-funded training system. Talent identification begins early. Scouts look at children as young as 6, carefully managing feasible traits like bone density, arm span, and flexibility to guide them toward the spots that are naturally beautiful. For example, short arms might point to children into weightlifting, long levels towards swimming. Inside these specialized academies, training is focused on achieving absolute technical mastery. A young diver might practice entering the water hundreds of times a day, chasing a perfect, splash-free, tight streamline entry, known locally as a popsicle shot. While this level of rigorous, repetitive training might seem intense from the outside, it represents a gold standard of sports science and long-term athlete development. China essentially approached Olympic training as a complex engineering puzzle, and they solve it with incredible dedication and precision. But here is the catch. This system is built on mastering the predictable. What happens when you take the same mindset into a dynamic, unpredictable, and chaotic football pitch? Football is the exact opposite. It comes down to one simple truth. You cannot script a 90-minute football match. In the state-run Olympic sports system, success is built on mastering the predictable. A diver can repeat a motion thousands of times until their muscles achieve ultimate perfection. But football is the exact opposite. It's a canvas of beautiful, organized chaos. International coaches such as Lars Isaac, who have worked with Chinese academies, note that local players are among the most disciplined and technical precise during structured drills. They follow the instructions flawlessly. But football isn't drills. It's beautiful chaos and pressure. Chinese players face an uphill battle when a match breaks down into chaos. In those split-second moments that require pure intuition and creative risk, the comfort of a direct command disappears. This isn't just a matter of tactics, but of psychological pressure. Football naturally rewards those who dare to fail. But for these players, the stage is a fragile one. A single misstep doesn't just lose the ball, it can feel like letting billions of people down. Young players instinctively passing the ball away to foreign teammates, not out of a lack of skill, but as a survival mechanism that avoid being the one who makes the fatal error. In a culture that deeply values precision, these talented athletes naturally grow hesitant to take risks. But here's the thing. Is this fear of making mistakes just a problem in the stadium? Not exactly. It's a reflection of the broader society. The instinct to play it safe is wired into the choices of almost every Chinese family, long before these kids ever lace up their boots. Step outside the professional training ground and walk into any Chinese city. Why don't we see much kids play football in the street? It's not a lack of fields, it's a different culture. Growing up in China, this feels completely normal to me. Nobody dislikes football. It's just not part of a daily rhythm. Football is something we might watch on TV or might not, but it's rarely the center of our social world. In South America or Europe, it's rooted in imagination, courage, and a dash of impulsive passion. In Brazil or Argentina, football is a stage for individual expression. Kids first gift is the ball. It's their sun, quite the center of the social world. In China, the sun is different. It's called the Gaokao, the world's most high-stake, ruthless national college entrance exam. In a highly competitive society, it remains the most reliable time-tested ladder to a stable future. In China, this creates what sociologists call the 12-year-old curse. Walk into a Chinese elementary school and you will see kids everywhere, chasing footballs, loving the game. The moment they turn 12 and hit middle school, football play drops off a cliff. Statistically, youth football participation naturally declines as major school exam approach. To a devoted Chinese parents, when their child's future security depends so heavily on academics, 3 hours on a football pitch isn't about character building. It's simply a luxury. When the future is on the line, stepping away from the field isn't strict parenting, it's also loving, protective choices for their child's life. In China, pursuing a professional sports career is a massive gamble with very few safety nets. Around 40% of retired athletes in China struggle to find work after their careers end. When you combine that reality with the legacy of the one-child policy, the choice becomes a heavy responsibility. Do you risk your only child's future on 1 in a million athlete dream, or guide them toward a safe, proven path of education? Even our sports tradition leans towards caution. Asian cultural values often view intense contact sports as grueling labor rather than the play. So many families naturally ask, why risk an injury in the chaotic contact sport like football? especially when your child can stay safe, healthy, and perfectly balanced playing table tennis or badminton. This everyday math is why China's youth football pool remains smaller than Europe's, while a top-down, high-structured system can build incredible facilities and mint Olympic champions. But it's much harder to systematically create the spontaneous, bottom-up passion and makes football thrive. Perhaps true love for the game grows best when it develops naturally. And if you look away from bigger cities, you will find the spirit thriving in mountains. Deep in the rural mountains of Guizhou, far from money and matrix, a grassroots football phenomenon has emerged, Cunchao, the village Super League. There are no multi-million-dollar contracts or rigid selection metrics there. Just local farmers, teachers, and students play for the pure joy of the game. Yet, thousands of people travel from all over the country just to share the community energy. China's Olympic success proved that meticulous planning and immense dedication produce world-class champions. But football thrived on a different frequency. It isn't a sport to be engineered. It's a sport to be lived. It thrives not in a controlled system, but within a community. Cunchao proved that passion for football is deeply alive in China. It simply needs the space to breathe, free from the pressure of absolute perfection and open to the creative intuition of the pitch. Because at the end of the day, you can build a perfect training facility, but you cannot substitute the natural spirit of the game. Thank you for watching. If you're curious about how top-down planning like this shapes Chinese business, please feel free to check out those videos. Do you think grassroots passion like Cunchao will eventually reshape the future of the game in China? See you in the next one.